Hi, I'm Crystal.
And I'm Karin, and you're listening to the Rom-Com Detectives.
Welcome to Rom-Com Detectives, episode 24. He is Mar, the next episode in our Mentalist unit. Today, Karin and I will be breaking down the 11th episode of the first season called Red John's Friends.
This episode originally aired on January 6, 2009. It was written by Bruno Heller and directed by John Polson.
So, we forgot to mention in our last episode that episode, the Red Brick and Ivy, was the mid-season finale. So, this one, when they came back, is, I guess, the mid-season premiere. Would that be what you call it?
Yeah, I was thinking about that with the date. It's after Christmas. That's a big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah. Okay, case briefing. This one takes place around Sacramento at a place called Folsom Prison, and it also takes place at the Renfrew Estate and at the CBI.
Title relevance: Jared Renfrew says that Red John is a friend of mine.
Then the victim and cause of death. The victim was Undine Kopecki, and she was stabbed.
The CBI is involved because Jane takes a request from the convicted killer, Jared Renfrew. The motive was family drama. It was the mother teaching her son a lesson.
Pretty harsh lesson.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I don't. I hope I never have to teach my kids a lesson like this. My goodness. Okay, guest stars. There was Gabriel Old. He plays Gardner Renfrew. He has a load of guest appearances. And then there was Kathleen Gatti. She was Mariska, and she actually has 522 credits with General Hospital, and she was in Arrow and a Fear the Walking Dead miniseries and 24. So she had a really small role in this, but she's
Yeah.
actually been in a lot of things. And then the big one was the guy who played Jared Renfrew, Todd Stashwick. He was from 12 Monkeys. He was Deacon, and he was more recently in Star Trek Picard and The Accountant 2, which I think came out just in the last couple of weeks. So
Wow.
Jane's skills in the episode. He does a couple of code readings, and there's a locked room mystery that he solves. And
Yeah.
Karin noted something else too.
He uses the force to open a gate.
Okay, we're getting into the episode breakdown. So it starts off with a SWAT team, and it actually looks like a whole lot of SWAT. It looks like
Yeah, it
more
does.
than a SWAT team. It looks like a couple SWAT teams. They really busted out the extras for this one. But they arrive at the house, and after entering, they open a door to find a naked man who's crying. He's sitting in shock next to a dead woman in her underwear on the bed next to him. And then that's it. After that, they cut to a year later, and Jane is going to visit the man who was arrested in jail. And he's called Jane because he says he has information about Red John, enough to help catch him, and that he's heard a lot about Jane and that he can tell when people are lying. So that's, I guess, kind of why he's kind of relying on Jane's ability, his lie detection, because he wants him to believe him so that he takes his case. Like, I guess,
Yeah.
like, Jane is kind of being hired like a PI kind of thing here. He claims that Red John is a friend of a friend and that he's innocent. His last appeal has failed, and he says if Jane gets him out, he'll give him Red John. So Jane lays out what happened. He says that the guy has been convicted of raping and murdering the family housekeeper's daughter, which is the woman that we saw in the beginning, and that he's read the case file and that even his family says that he did it. So he's skeptical, and he tells him, no, I'm not going to take your case.
Yep.
But he also reveals like a little bit more. So we learned that he had done drugs, they had had sex, and he fell asleep, and that when he woke up, she was dead. And I guess the other thing is there were bars on the windows, which I was kind of confused about.
Yeah.
we could we can talk about that later. But I okay, so I don't understand the opening scene. So the whole thing about the locked room is like this big deal in this case. But so if he was in the locked room, like how did they discover him?
Right.
And why was there SWAT? Because if he's locked in this room and he's freaking out, does he go call someone to call the police? Does you know what I mean, right?
I do. I totally it's like,
It
do they
doesn't
add
make any
do
sense.
they add that window detail because someone peered in
Peeked
the
in?
window to see what was going on?
I
It really
know.
feels like when you know the story, you can look back and really see that it only the killer would know that there was a dead body in there with him
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
severity of the
Is it a locked
situation.
room or not?
Right.
So, yeah, and then I don't understand what the SWAT was for because if they were coming in full gear, they must have thought there was this huge
Uh,
threat, but he was
right.
just sitting there in shock.
Right.
So, I don't understand
Yeah.
why just like regular police couldn't just come.
I
It's not
mean,
like
it looked pretty cool.
I guess, but like he wasn't like holding a gun or
No.
like ranting and raving like a lunatic kind of thing. So yeah, I think it was just all for flash.
Although later we do see his brother is very fond of calling police.
Yeah, that's true. This time he was like, oh, "This is my brother, and he's such a loser. I'm gonna call SWAT."
That's right.
But yeah, so Jane declines his offer, but as he's leaving, the man says that Red John painted his wife's toenails with her own blood,
Yeah.
and that this detail was never released to the public. And that stops Jane. So, just based on his reaction, we know that this is actually true. And so, I wanted to ask, do you think that he gets triggered by red nail polish because of this detail? Like, do you think Lisbon or anybody on the team, like Van Pelt, makes a point to avoid this or anything like that? I mean, that this is like getting into like behind the scenes, like
Yeah.
imagination kind of thing. But do
Yeah.
you
I
think
would
that's
I mean, I can tell you that this has definitely been brought up in multiple fan fictions.
uh
Just that maybe Lisbon chooses a different color or that
yeah.
she considers it. So it's definitely been discussed by fandom.
Hmm.
I could totally see it, yeah, that he's triggered by red nail polish.
Next, it goes to Jane and Lisbon meeting with Minelli, who he has such good ranting, and this one is no exception. He's really good. He's like telling her absolutely not. He has no authority. That the case is closed, and Minelli's kind of taken aback because Jane is just like, okay, yeah, I understand.
Uh-huh.
And he just calmly walks out. But he's not fooled. He tells them he's lying through his teeth, isn't he? And she looks very amused. At his desk, Lisbon tells Jane to hear her out so she can say, I told you so later. And this comes back. This is like
Yeah.
something that they established early on because they bring it back later in the episode. Because she knows that he's going to go investigate anyway. She insists that he's being conned and he concedes that it's possible, but he doesn't think so and he has to find out. And I mean, to be fair, like, I mean, who would let it drop, right? I mean, despite I guess Minelli has assigned her to watch over him, but she doesn't want to, so she just says to call her first so she can
Yep.
minimize the damage, which I don't think he does.
No, I don't think so.
She warns him not to use his CBI card because he'll probably get thrown out of the CBI if he does. So then he goes to the Renfrew house and he asks to speak to Jared's brother. He's speaking on like the speaker at the gate, and he's denied admission until he tells whoever he's talking to that he can prove that Jared is innocent. And then when he goes inside, he says that, well, I just lied to get in.
He does that a lot in this episode. He's just like, "Never
I
mind, I was
know.
lying."
Yeah, yeah. But after he talks to the brother and his wife, he's like, "Oh, does your mom live here?" And then he just kind of runs off to go find her, even though the guy's like chasing him and telling his wife, "Call the police." Notice that you mentioned that he's fond of calling the police. He's actually fond of ordering his wife to
His
call the
wife.
police.
Right. Right.
But Jane finds the mom. I don't think we ever get her first name, do we?
Although no, in the transcript it's just Mrs. Renfrew. In the script she has a name.
Oh yeah, it's Muriel Renfrew.
Yeah. Muriel.
Interestingly enough, she had like a lot more screen time compared to Mariska, but she like has no IMDb entry or something. It's weird.
Interesting. Yeah, no, she was great. I love her.
What would you have thought if they had switched the two actresses? Because I mean, like you said, she was great, but I feel like it's kind of strange that the big soap star was given this one scene basically,
Yeah.
while this other lady was. I don't know. I think they could have been switched, and they both would have been pretty good. So they look similar too. Did you notice that?
Yeah, they
Like
do kind of
around
have
the
this.
same age,
Yeah.
and they were blonde, and yeah. But so Jane finds her in the garden, and which is funny because her son's name is Gardner.
I know.
Comes running out, yelling at his mom to go inside. She immediately puts him in his place though. She's like, what did she say to him? She basically tells him to just be quiet and let her talk to Jane. But he asked her about Jared, and she says that she gives a kind of interesting background to him because I mean, when we first meet him in Joe, he doesn't come across as like a rich guy. But when you go to meet his family, like his brother is very different, his
Yeah.
mom is very different, and like you can see like they have a huge estate, and there's people helping them all over the place, and they look like a very well-off family. Meanwhile, she says that he was a bully and a liar, and that he was in and out of jail for drugs and other things, like basically a common criminal. So I don't think we ever see him together with his family, but he does seem like a black sheep compared to the rest of the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And I know it's because we see him in prison, but at the same time, I don't know. The way that she talked about his history kind of sounds like he was constant trouble. So I think they try to build up on this because they want us to like suspect the brother because the brother gets all the money if once he's convicted. So but she mentions that he gave up his drugs and drinking and gallivanting and he came home to help run the family business. But that then this murder happened and her husband dropped dead a week after the murder of the girl. So Jane asked to see the scene of the crime, and she explains that she was having a dinner party and that Undine was there to help with the food, and that her and the mother, the housekeeper, were with the family for 20 years, and they were like family. Then Jane reveals that Jared told her that he was actually. So he says having an affair, but I mean, is an affair used to just mean a relationship? Because neither of them are married, right?
That's true. That's true. I think it's more like the scandalous nature of it since she was hired
Uh,
help.
okay, okay. But he was, I guess, claiming that he loved her and wouldn't have hurt her. And the story in the trial officially is that he was stalking her. And because yeah, he gets convicted of rape too. So that's like a major point in his case. So he asked to speak to the housekeeper, but Mrs. Renfrew says that she left and then she goes to get her address for him. And then while she's doing that, he's like looking around. He spots the fishing reel and lying in a closet that's open. He examines the room and the key, which I guess she had left in the door.
Yeah.
It was an
Yep.
interesting old fashioned key, right?
Yeah, she pulled it down from above the door and left it in the lock. Which why keep that room locked though? That was interesting to me. Like is it
Yeah. And did she unlock it from the outside?
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess like So it's not lockable. Wait. See, this is what I don't understand. If it's lockable from the outside,
Well, because yeah, because it's an old-fashioned lock, so the keyhole goes all the way through, so you
uh-huh,
can use the key on
on
each
both
side.
sides. Oh,
Mhm.
okay, okay, okay. That makes sense then. See, I don't have doors like that, so I had no idea. I was like, what is going on with this door? I did not understand. While she's gone, the police arrive. I found this scene very amusing because Jane, like, he's really ballsy in this one.
Yeah,
Like,
he is.
he tells the police, "I'm the homeowner, and this man is crazy."
And Jane is so calm, and Gardner's just amping up. I love it.
Yeah, it was great. I liked it too when the mom shows back up because she's just like, "Oh yeah, okay, here's the address." Like, what? And she's like, "Really?" This poor guy, he's like constantly pressed down by his mother. And we see why later. You gotta listen to this mother, man.
That's right, that's right. You don't wanna mess with this lady.
So back in the office, oh god, I love this scene too. Milali is pissed because I guess the guy Gardner Renfrew is important and he filed a complaint and he tells her you can't just go screwing around with him. He scolds him for giving his real name, saying that he should have lied like he usually does because now he has to reprimand him. And that's when Jane's like, well, I can't do that because he's innocent. Even though he admits that he's still figuring things out. Uh, he makes like a Wizard of Oz joke.
Yep.
He says, "Wake up! You're not in Kansas anymore." And then this is Jane just picks that up, and he's just like, "If I'm Dorothy, who are you?" Minnelli gives him an ultimatum. He says if he doesn't back off, he has to throw him out of the CBI, even though he doesn't want to. And Jane quits, which
Yikes.
I remember when I first watched it, I was like, "What? I'm only halfway into this." Because yeah, I mean, he gives him his badge, and he. I liked that he told Lisbon that she's obviously the good witch Glinda.
Yeah. It's a
But
sweet moment.
yeah, he tells her that he thanks her. He says he learned a lot, and then he goes to leave. But then she goes to her office, and the team is waiting for her here, and they're asking why is it that when Jane needs him, they're gonna just abandon him. And she says that they closed cases before, they can do it again. And I liked how Rigsby was particularly very gung ho. Like they all want to help, but he was just very like agitated. I felt like a little bit
Mhm.
more than the other two. He was just like, I can't believe it. It's not about the cases, it's about helping Jane. So that was kind of nice. But turns out Van Pelt already found something, so they were just asking Lisbon like leading questions, like what if we were to find a connection? But so the connection she found is that Renfrew's cellmate 7 years ago was a man named Orville Tanner, who claimed during his murder trial, which I guess was in 1998. So this helps establish like some timeline details about Red John because Lisbon says that's around when Red John started his career. But she words things very carefully, like on the sly, saying that they can keep digging. So I like this scene too. Minelli's scenes are so funny, but Van Pelt she finds a connection. She looks up the autopsy report of Tanner's victim and she notes that the body was cut up Red John style. And then Minelli comes in
Uh-huh.
and like the guys see him, but she can't see him because he's behind her, right? So they like go back to looking busy and like da da da. And then he talks to her and she like totally jumps at her
Yeah,
computer.
it's great.
But so they confess that they're helping Jane with research. Then Lisbon comes in and she like fully falls on her sword saying that, you might as well just suspend us now because we're going to keep helping him. But then he suspends them right there,
Yeah.
which I don't think
Whoops.
Lisbon expected.
Wait a minute.
Because, yeah, he goes to his office and she follows him there and she's like, that was kind of not really what I meant. But then he says that he's got the suspension paperwork in his hands and he has to go visit his sister in Hawaii for a week. And I was like, oh.
Hey.
Yeah. And it's going to sit on his desk and she's not to contact him about anything. And tells her not to dig herself any deeper in the hole that she's in. And I liked her line here. She says, you should put a flashlight under your chin to complete the effect. That was cute. Okay, so I wanted to discuss this. Do you think he actually goes to Hawaii for a week? Or is he
No.
just taking some time off and he's just gonna go sit at home for a week while they do this?
Yeah, I think he's just making himself scarce. I would
Yeah.
love to believe that he actually takes a break, but he doesn't seem to be that kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just gonna be what he tells HR, right?
Right.
Although
Although,
I mean, he might have to back it up. Like, what if he needs to like tell the CBI, "Hey, here's my tickets." Maybe he needs receipts, right? So maybe he
maybe
does go.
I mean, if you're gonna take the time, might as well go to
I know.
Hawaii.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And it's only like a 5-hour flight from LA.
Well,
So,
hey.
well, they're in Sacramento, but you know what I'm talking. You know what I mean. So
Yeah.
it's basically the same. It's from California. But so later we cut to Jane, who's looking very sad, sitting on some random stoop in a neighborhood. What is he holding in his hand? He's holding like a yellow paper in his hand. What do you think that
Oh,
was?
yeah, I don't know. So I can tell you in the script, they showed more of his, like he's looking for Mariska, the housekeeper. So there, and
Yeah,
so
okay.
there's some missing scenes here where he's just going to random neighborhoods and looking for her and coming
Oh
up
no,
on dead ends.
that's what it is then, because I think when Mrs. Renfrew came back from getting the address, she had the address on a yellow
Yeah.
paper, so that
Yeah, it
must be
could
what it
be.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So he gets a call, and it's Lisbon, and she's asking him to come back to the office and to bring pizza because they're going to be working late.
But
So
they
it
didn't
goes,
close the case. They
huh?
didn't earn their pizza yet.
I know. It's late night pizza.
Right.
So it cuts to the bullpen, and it's late. I think it's nighttime because I think it's dark outside. You can kind of tell. And then they're discussing the crime. So this part I feel like gets a little dicey too,
Yeah, it
because
does.
so Van Pelt looks up Mariska Kopecki, and while she's doing that, she says that she got an IM link from someone named Dr. Joe dash NH. So Dr. Joe in New Hampshire. And so she says that she clicked on it because, yeah, let's just click random
Yeah.
links from
Yep.
IMs that you get in
Yep.
your security. I don't know what this is, but she says that Mariska changed her name, and then she looked up that name and found that that person bought a condo 4 months ago. And then Jane is like, "Oh, what did you say his name is?" And then, oh my god, the computer screen graphics here were very amusing because it's like this not that great looking CBI computer lets you suddenly start clicking random letters in a search query box and pulling them off to go play a word scramble.
But it doesn't they're not even putting it in order. They're just clicking on letters, and it's, like, putting them
It's
in the right place to
moving.
be it just fills in. It's like Wheel of
It's
Fortune.
magic.
Like, we're just gonna click letters, and it'll put it in the different
Oh,
spots to
I
spell
mean,
Red John,
it's funny you say that because Mariska changed her name to Vanna.
right?
She's the one making the letters go to
They
all
were
the right spaces.
inspired.
Then they start chatting with Dr. Joe slash Red John. And she's, oh my goodness, I don't even understand. But he tells Jane, he asks, "Is Jane there?" And he says, "Keep up the good work." And then he's gone. And then Van Pelt says that she can't trace where that instant message came from. But now Jane is convinced that this means that Jared is innocent and that Red John wants him out of prison so that he can kill him,
Dun
and
dun
that they have to
dun.
get him out of prison so that they can use him as bait because Red John will break cover to come get him. But see, the logic here is questionable too, because why would Red John need Renfrew out of jail to kill him? Because they just established that he can hack into this secure database.
Yep.
It's like a common TV thing that if you want to kill someone in prison, you just hire another prisoner to kill
Right.
someone. Right?
Right.
So, like, is that just not a Red John option here? Is he just want to kill him himself? Maybe that's it. He wants to get this guy
Maybe.
himself because he's bitter because he's gonna give him up. But thanks to Van Pelt's investigation, now they have an actual place that they can go find Mariska, the housekeeper. So Lisbon and Jane go there. And I thought this was cute. She's about to take out her badge before
Uh-huh.
remembering she can't use it. So she's just like, oh God, what do I do now? So she tells Jane, well you talk to her.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, nah, you can do it. He's just toying with her. But he does lie to get in. They're talking about some guy that she was expecting. But once they're inside, Jane does that thing again that he did with the Renfrews. He's like, "Sorry, I just lied to get inside your house." She gets really mad and she tells him to get out. But then Jane does the cold reading here. He like evaluates like how things were for her when she came to the United States, how she had dreams, and that instead she had a life of drudgery for 25 years. But he guesses that she did it all for her daughter, but then her daughter was killed, and so she was left with nothing. And then he's kind of harsh with her. I
Yeah,
thought
he is.
he's pushing her pretty hard, but I think it was probably necessary because, and I think he knew that because he knew that she'd been paid for her silence, so it was going to take a little bit of pressure for her to actually admit to it. Because she does deny getting paid at first until Jane says, "Not, don't lie to me," and he's like harsh enough where even Lisbon seems uncomfortable. She's like
Yeah.
warning him, "Oh, what are you doing?"
But you'll notice too that she's living in this really nice house and she has a maid.
Yeah, yeah.
Like she
Somebody's cleaning her house for her.
yeah, so it's clear that, this is a big change for her. That
Yeah,
makes sense that she was paid off. All the evidence is there.
yeah. But she finally admits it that she was paid to say that Jared was stalking her when she actually knew that they were actually in a relationship together. And she tells them that a PI offered her money and that she initially declined until he offered more, and that's when she took it. So a couple of notes about this scene. Lisbon's wearing a turtleneck.
Yeah.
she looks really good in it too.
Yeah, is this how she dresses down when she's not being a
I don't
police?
know. I don't know. Her hair was really good too.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
But so one of the things that Gene says when he's pushing her hard is he says, "Don't lie to me. You took your 20 pieces of silver and bought the life you always wanted, didn't you?" That's a Bible reference. Didn't write down what it is from though. Do you know?
Yes, I believe so. It's Judas Iscariot betrays Jesus. He basically takes the dues from the group, or they pay him to betray Jesus.
Actually, it was 30 pieces of silver.
Yeah.
So I guess the 20 pieces is Joseph being sold
Oh, okay.
as a slave. He's sold into slavery by his brothers. They must have been trying to hint, I guess. Do you think they were hinting about the whole brother thing? Because they were trying to make
Yeah,
us
that could
think that
be.
Gardner was doing this. So I think maybe they're trying to make you think that Gardner is the one who paid off Mariska.
Yeah, the family making a family connection.
Yeah, yeah. So she gives them the name of the PI, and Lisbon goes to look him up, but apparently he's dead. He got hit by a bus.
2 weeks ago, conveniently.
Oh, really? You mean
Yeah.
before their case? Oh my
Right.
god. And she also mentions that if they don't solve it by the time Manelli's back, they're done. So
Dun
Jane
dun
says
dun.
it's time for plan B. And when Lisbon says, "What's plan B?" I like this. He's like, "Oh, you're not gonna like it." Back in the rent. Okay, so I don't understand this part. At the Renfrew house, Lisbon flashes her badge. Is this the part that she wasn't gonna like part of
Yeah,
it? Because
yeah. I'm surprised that he was able to talk her into this because
yeah,
she does some things that really go against her moral character in this
yeah,
scene.
like the thing she says. Yeah, so she flashes her badge to get into the house, and then so I guess when Gardner shows up, he tells his wife to call the police. That's his thing. But then Jane pops out, and I guess he was in the room trying to figure things out. I guess, and then he tells him he should listen to him because he knows that his brother didn't do it. And then Gardner says that it doesn't matter because he like goes over the whole locked room thing again. And so Jane demonstrates how he figured it out. So he gives Rigsby the key and has him go inside and lock himself in the room. And then basically he slides a piece of newspaper under the door. He pushes the key, which is on the inside,
Yep.
out with a pen, and it falls into the newspaper, and that's how he gets the key. And but then the wife says, "That's very clever, but how do you get out again?" Which I didn't understand again. Did she ask the right question here? Shouldn't the
So,
question
okay, so you poke the key, you get the key so that you can enter the room from the outside.
that would be the killer, not Jared, right?
Correct.
The theoretical
So,
killer.
yes, so she came in from the outside and killed Undine and then had to get the key back in the lock from the outside
Okay.
to
Okay, so she's
to
she's
maintain
asking
that
how did the
illusion.
killer get back outside and
Yeah.
lock the door again? Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. All right. But so Jane uses the fishing line. He inserts it in the hole. He feeds it under the door. He ties it to the key. He pulls the key back into the slot inside the room, and then he burns the line off. But then, like, I guess the thing is, like, I don't think he can burn like the part on the key. Do you think it just falls off and nobody paid attention to it?
Or something like that, or I don't know if it would melt or yeah, I don't know. It would break the knot off
Yeah.
though, probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
And
wish they
waiting.
had I wish they had shown like Jane like looking down and finding like a little leftover or knot of fishing wire or something.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
But when Gardner gets upset again, this is where Lisbon does the questionable stuff. She says, "We could accept a bribe to stay quiet."
Right. Oh, man, I can just imagine that just killing her inside.
I know, I
Like,
know.
that is career suicide of this.
Especially when Mrs. Renfrew is just like, "But you're state agents."
Uh-huh. Ugh.
But Lisbon says, well, you guys got him tossed out and we're gonna go too." But Jane gives him a deadline. You have until 4 to call to accept our offer. And then Gardner yells at him that he's gonna call the FBI.
He's gonna call SWAT next, just you wait.
As they leave, Rigsby expresses some doubt. He's like, "Is it just me, or did that not go so well?" Jane thinks that they got a bite, but Lisbon's just like, "We're doomed." They show them at the office again. It's almost 4 p.m. And I like this because Jane is like saying, "Patience,
Patience.
patience."
Is he
Meanwhile, he's got his phone on his lap, like
yeah,
he's willing it to ring.
like the desktop phone, the landline. Yes. And I just love this that they're supposedly suspended, but they're all hanging out at the office
Yeah, yeah.
together for a phone call, like, just huddled in the corner of the bullpen.
And I guess he's been saying patience for a while because
Yeah,
Rigsby's like, "If you say patience one more
one
time."
more time.
But then Jean's cell phone rang and Lisbon asks, "Who was it?" And he just smiles at her. But he goes back to the Renfrew house and it turns out it was Mrs. Renfrew. And he admits that he thought it's going to be Gardner. And so this is one of those instances. Like I talk about this on the subreddit all the time, but Jane is often wrong. And it's
Hmm.
just he's so good about shifting attention to the next thing that you don't realize that he was wrong and that he had to just shift to the next thing. So and
Yep.
so like here he was focused on the son. They were doing all this stuff to try to get him to take their offer of a bribe because he was
Yeah.
convinced that it was him.
Yeah.
But then it turns out to be the mother. And so he does the same thing that he did with the housekeeper. He asks her how much she paid and she won't admit to it. So he starts like putting on pressure. And he's saying that only a guilty person would respond like that. And that he knows that she's guilty, but he just doesn't understand why she did it. And then he does like a cold reading on like how he thinks like the husband was. And then he correctly guesses that Undine was Mr. Renfrew's child. And so this is actually, they use this secret incestual siblings in a relationship thing twice in the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the first one. But so that means that Jared and Undine's sexual relationship was incest. So I wanted to ask you why does Jane say it was practically incest?
Exactly. I love that though,
Because
how the mom's like, no,
it
it
is
was
incest.
incest.
Yeah, so why is it only
Oh,
practically incest to Jane? If they're half siblings, is it half incest?
I, I'd like to think he's just processing the idea.
Ah. But so she tried to demand that Jared stop seeing her, but he said that he was in love and he refused. And so I mean, it must have been pretty up. I can imagine how upsetting it was for her. And that, but then she says that she didn't tell him because it was too humiliating. But for me, not that I hope I'm never in this situation.
Right.
But if you're trying so hard to prevent your son from sleeping with his half sister, but you're just like, oh, it's too humiliating. I can't tell
Uh-huh.
him. I would have just been like, excuse me, but that's your half sister. Please stop.
Well,
Right?
it boggles my mind too because the housekeeper for sure knew that
Yeah,
this was a situation. I mean, I don't
that's
even know if the
true.
house they imply that Mrs. Renfrew here just she didn't want the drama. So it sounded like she never confronted the housekeeper.
Yeah, because
So
he said he asked her like, how do you keep this secret for 18
yeah,
years or whatever?
right. So had they never talked about it? Did the housekeeper think she was holding this secret alone? Why wouldn't she talk about it with her
Her
daughter?
daughter. Yeah, like, don't see that guy. He's your brother. I mean, I guess even the same thing there. Like maybe she didn't want to go that far, but yeah, I would have thought that she would have said something too.
I really gotta wonder. I wish we could have some of the husband's insight too. Like, was he making the housekeeper stay?
Yeah.
Was he holding something over her?
Or did he even know kind of thing, you know?
It's yeah, right. Did he realize that was his daughter?
Is that why he died? Because he realized
I
that
I oh, I have so many questions.
I know, because she mentions that people were saying that her husband died of a broken heart, but I don't know, like what I mean, there are so many things he could have thought. He could have if he knew, he could have been like, "Oh my god, my son killed my." Actually, no. This is actually the second case this season of unknown siblings, right? Because there was the one with the thin red line, right? They weren't in a relationship, but
Right.
you know the cop at the
Yeah.
motel, he killed
Yeah.
his half sister and he didn't
Yeah.
realize it. Yeah, so this is the third. This will be the second of three of secret siblings. I forgot about the one earlier. Twice in one season. So Jane doesn't understand why she killed this girl. I guess he must understand why she killed the girl, but he doesn't understand why she sent her son away to prison for life. And she says that she wouldn't do that. She pulls out a vial of blood, which, I mean, lady, did you have like a cold pack in your purse? She just pulls out a warm
Ugh.
vial of blood for her
And
purse, and she just keeping it there. It's good.
yeah, is it always there?
It's gonna degrade, lady. I hope you have like
And then, like,
ice or
or
something.
one day it just breaks in her purse, and she's like, "Shoot." You know what?
No, I have a bloody purse. There
Right?
goes my son. Sorry, kiddo, you're gonna have to be in jail. But she took it to confess so that she could free him after he learned his lesson. And then Jane asks which was what. And she says, everything in moderation and listen to your mother. Oh boy. So now we know why Gardner is like, listens to the mama. Can you just imagine he like wants to go do something else and she's just like, no, I put your brother in prison. Do you want to join him?
Oh, no.
Starts eyeing up his wife.
Oh, no.
Hope you like her. Oh boy. Okay, so it shows 2 weeks later, and the team is getting ready to leave to get Renfrew, and Jane goes and checks in with Lisbon, and she says that there's a safe house set up. Then, so the plan, I guess, was they were gonna pick up Renfrew, take him to the house, and then wait for Red John. Which I don't know. Do you think that was a
Yeah.
good plan?
No,
Seems a little simplistic, but yeah.
it
So
does.
she tells him to be careful because this is all playing out like Red John wants. And at the prison, Renfrew is set free and he's handed over to them. Jane asks for the info, but Renfrew says that he wants some time to get a breath of fresh air, which is very convenient.
Uh-huh.
He says that they can talk later. And I mean, I guess it's kind of fair because it might be better to talk at the safe house. But Rigsby has him put on a bulletproof vest and he asks for a cheeseburger and fries and they say yeah but only drive through. And so I don't I did so this part was confusing to me. They go and drive through and all of a sudden there's all these protesters in the street and they get stuck in foot traffic. I guess it was an animal rights protest because there were like
Yeah.
it was like signs about meat and other
Meat
things.
is murder and stuff about fur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so Jane is in the front with Rigsby and Cho is in the back with Renfrew. And he throws hot coffee in Cho's face, which I was like, oh my God.
Ouch.
Yeah, ouch. And then he runs out of the car. They chase him, but because of the protesters, he gets away. And Jane is really upset. But yeah, very convenient that these protesters were there that day. So back at the CVI, Lisbon says it's been 5 hours and no one's heard from Renfrew. And so Minelli thinks that he had to have planned it with other people in advance to escape like that. Cho is pissed.
Yeah, he is.
He like throws a ball that he had been squeezing and Lisbon tries to tell him that it wasn't his fault and he actually yells back at her.
Yep. A rare Cho outburst.
Yeah, he says he says he needs to take responsibility because it was his fault and Jane tries to calm him down and stuff like that, but that's when Jane gets a call in his cell and he looks at it and it's Renfrew. He's calling to apologize, saying that it was dishonorable, but it's too dangerous for him to cross Red John. And Jane points out that, well, like Red John doesn't know that you didn't give me anything, so you're in danger and you need us. But he tells him that they have mutual friends and they'll speak up for him and tell him that he didn't give him up. Jane tries to warn him that he can't trust these friends, and I agree. Like,
Uh-huh.
so here we have more questionable computer acting here. Okay, so I paused it on the screen. So Van Pelt tries to trace the call, and this time her screen says search criteria list all currently active cellular devices within CBI, except by the time she's typing this in, Jane has already hung up the phone. So it's it's not active, currently active. And then oh my god, there's a typo on the screen too. There's two M's in incoming call, and it's just bad computer. But with before she even traces the call, Jane says that he's in Tijuana with a hooker in a motel room, and they're all like, "What?" I like that. He actually we should have added that to his skills, right? His deduction skills.
Yeah. I wasn't sure what to
He
call that.
yeah.
Because he's just, oh, he can hear the hooker taking your clothes off or something.
No, I don't think he heard that. He
No.
says he heard Latin music, he heard sirens and horns and a whole neighborhood in the background. So he says this suggests thin walls and a city. And then he said he'd need to use someone else's phone, that he's been in prison for a year. So I guess just by logic, he assumes it's a
Yeah.
hooker he's calling. But I don't know why he picks Tijuana. Because
I mean,
that's
it's right across the border.
oh, okay. Okay. So
So,
closest thing.
yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so Van Pelt successfully traces the call to a woman in Tijuana, and then she narrows it down to a specific motel. And so at this point, Millie takes Cho and Rigsby. I don't know why he took them, what they were going to do, but that's when Jane tells Lisbon, "Okay, you can say I told you so." He says that she's earned the right to say it, but she's actually isn't ready to say it. She still sounds optimistic. She says it's not over and they're still going to find him and he's going to tell us what he knows. And I think she's just doing this to help him feel better because she feels bad for what's happened. Because, I mean, Jane has lost his Reg on lead, basically. So but then they head down to Mexico, and only Lisbon, Jane, and Rigsby go. I guess they leave. They leave Cho and Van Pelt behind. But Rigsby bursts into the motel room that we saw Renfrew in earlier, and he rushes to the bathroom, and then he stops, and then he goes back outside, and he's speaking Spanish. More on that later.
Yep.
But then Lisbon goes and she's looking into the bathroom with horror, and you can kind of see it was really quick, but there's a red John smiley in the room on the wall, and then inside the bathtub the hooker and Renfrew are dead and there's blood everywhere. Then so this is a big sticking point for fans that comes up all the time. It's still a big
Uh-huh.
question.
Yep.
Anyone who's listening to our podcast and is hoping that there will be resolution with this, bad news, there is none.
Nope.
So on the wall it says he is Mar. And people will there are other theories about this. So Jane and Lisbon sit on the bed, and Jane says again, "Well, you can say I told you so now." But now she doesn't feel like it. And I mean, who can blame her, right? Like, it'd be kind of not a very cool thing to do to say, "I
No.
told you so." She asks him what he thinks it means. And he says, "Red John is far more powerful than I ever thought." But she was talking about the writing on the wall.
Right.
And he says he has no idea. She says it's still a good clue. And I don't know, she's just trying to put on a brave face, I think. She says Jared was trying to tell us something important. Or not important, as it turns out.
Oh, yeah.
She says next time we'll get him. And he asks, next time? That's when the hooker's cell phone rings and Jane answers it, and a man is breathing heavily and he just laughs. A very sinister laugh.
Yeah. Classic villain laugh.
But yeah, that's where the episode ends. So let's discuss the he is Mar thing, because I don't understand logistically
No.
like what happened here. Because for Jared to have written that, it kind of goes against what Red John is. He's a
Right.
killer. He's very
Yeah.
thorough. Yeah. So for Renfrew to have written that, he would have had to mistakenly left him there alive. And so he would
Right.
have had to write that he is Mar on the wall just before he actually died.
Right.
So that doesn't really make sense to me for Red John, because I mean they talk about how he has a certain cutting style and he's very this is far into his career as a serial killer. So I feel
Right.
like he would not have left anyone
No,
alive.
it could be, like, I think we note the smiley faces above the toilet. It's not in the prime Red John
Mhm.
location. So
Yeah.
is it really Red John who went down to and crossed into another
Mm.
country to commit this killing, or was it someone else? But, did he get one of his minions to do it?
Yeah.
But that speaks to a whole 'nother level. Like, if a serial killer, like, he's crossed from California to Mexico now
Mhm.
and left his calling card, so does what authorities would that.
Yeah, I think that would, like, kinda trigger like, maybe another agency, like, on a federal
Right,
level, right?
right. Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, because I can't remember from my Criminal Minds watching. I think FBI becomes involved once they cross state lines.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know if that's based on
Yeah,
reality, but
I
I
don't
think
know,
that's what I remember.
and here I mean, they obviously clearly got Mexican authorities
Yeah,
to help
to
them
help
out
them.
here, but they're doing lead, although they show some Mexican forensic guys taking the bodies away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole can of worms.
I can't imagine what it was like, though, to be watching this show live and, like, picking it apart on, like, online
Yes.
forums and stuff. And actually,
Yes.
it's probably possible to look this up on, like, the subreddit because I think the subreddit was formed at that point. Let me go look it up real quick. Actually, so the subreddit was created in on May 9th, 2010, so the year
Okay.
following the airing of this
Yes.
episode.
Yeah.
But I don't know how were people communicating online. I know there was like a couple of dedicated
Somewhere.
websites, right, for
Yeah.
discussing this.
Yes, but there's also the question of why would he bother to write "he is"?
Yeah, yeah. Because if you want to write his name, if he knows his name, just write his
Just write
name.
the name. Yep.
Yeah.
And there's also looking at the positioning. He's not facing the wall. He, like, didn't
Yeah, so
slump
he would be
down while
writing
he
it.
was
Yeah, he'd be
like,
writing it behind
behind
himself
himself.
or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't know. If he's right-handed, wait, where was he? In Okay, I think he was in the tub and the words were on his like above him to the his right.
I think
Am
so.
I thinking that correctly? So he would have had to write. Was he left-handed? Did he go with his left hand and write on the wall above his right shoulder? Or did he turn and face the wall and write it and then collapse how we saw him? And
Or
also,
did
yeah,
did
I
Red
don't.
John write it for fun?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say next. It's like, did he write it just to taunt Jane? Because yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he just does it to throw him off, right? Because I've seen a couple of theories about what it is, but yeah, like the "he is" thing just seems like, dude, you're about to die. What are you doing, wasting 4 letters, man? Come up with a better clue. But then that also makes you wonder, like, did he actually have concrete information? Did he actually know who Reginald is? Because I mean, it's something that Lisbon brings up constantly. She's telling Jane he's just conning you. He just wants to get out of
Yeah.
prison. And then when Jane tells him, Reginald is going to be after you because you've got this information, he's like, "Well, I'll just have friends tell him that I didn't give you anything." But I mean, is he just bluffing? Is he just saying that? Does he actually have information? And then Red John actually does go
Right.
after him. So I don't know. I don't know what he could have been writing. I thought thought maybe he was writing something in Spanish, maybe, but yeah, I don't know.
Or there is also the debate on, is that an R or is it a smear?
Yeah.
Was he really writing a different letter? Like, some will say he was writing "he is many."
Or he is mad. I don't know. But see, the thing that drives me the most crazy about this is it's never brought up again.
Nope.
They
Nope.
never mention again. So Lisbon saying he's trying to tell us something important. That's just a
Nope.
throwaway line, apparently, because it's never brought up, not even in a passing mention. It's not like shown in a case file. It's never talked about again.
We don't even talk about Renfrew ever again. It's just
Yeah.
it was just a bad day at work.
So yeah, I mean, it was a good episode. It's very suspenseful. It's very highly rated on IMDb. So people really like it. I really liked it. And I know we're picking it apart here, but that's kind of what we do,
Yes.
right? We lovingly pick things apart. uh, but yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have a very brief like supplemental spoiler discussion we'll release after this. So you can go listen to that if you've seen the whole show. All right, now that we've finished the episode breakdown, let's get to the cold reading. At what point does Jane crack the case?
Right. So he figured out the trick with the door pretty quickly. He seems to figure that out like when he first sees the door, he's left alone in the hallway.
Yeah, because
Um
he sees the fishing lure right with the
yeah, he sees that in the hallway in the closet and he's peeking under the door and he looks pretty happy when he's investigating that. But as we mentioned, he says that his primary suspect was the brother.
yeah.
So just lucky, I guess.
Yeah,
Although
because he technically doesn't necessarily crack the case. I guess you can argue that they set it up so that the mother confesses, but
yes, but I would think that after talking to the housekeeper and putting together some of those details, maybe it took talking to the mother to put those final pieces together to
mm,
realize that Undine was a half sister.
I don't know. Do you think he figured out the whole sibling connection while he was talking to her? It kind of seemed that way that he's just because he seems to work pretty like on the fly. So
Yeah,
he like processes all these details pretty quickly. So all the new information that he's getting from the mother, he's like using that and feeding it to his
yeah,
reading. So
yeah.
that's the thing about Jane is he can think really fast on his feet. So hot reading, take it away, Karen.
Okay, we have a lot of like deleted scenes and added moments in this episode because I think it's such a big episode. This is our first true Red John episode. So they just had a lot to do here. There is one deleted scene that they put on the DVD. This is when Jane is initially talking to the Renfrews. Gardner follows him outside after he leaves and asks him to leave the case alone because his family has suffered enough. And Jane just turns around and says, "So what were you doing on the night of the murder?" And so Gardner's like, "Yeah, okay, that's not cool." And he ends up taking a swing at Jane,
Oh
but
wow.
Jane dodges out of the way, and he states that Gardner always hated his brother, and Gardner just tells him to leave, like he doesn't deny it.
Mm.
There's a continuation of a scene at the beginning when Manelli says, "Lying through his teeth, isn't he?" And Lisbon says, "Yes." When Jane said he's just gonna leave it alone. The scene continues. Manelli says, "Don't let him out of your sight." And Lisbon says, "Who am I, secret squirrel? I'm not going to spy on him." I don't know who secret squirrel
Yeah,
is.
I've never heard of that.
No.
Let's Google that really quick.
But Manelli says, "But you have to keep him under control somehow." And Lisbon's like, "How? This is the reason he's alive, to find Red John." Manelli says, "He's going to go crashing into this thing and cause a huge mess. I can feel it." And Lisbon says, "Probably. It was bound to happen someday. Nature of the beast. You knew that." And Manelli says, "Do you really want to lose him? Because that's what'll happen if he goes off the rails. We lose him."
Ah,
And then this
I
would
would have
go in.
liked to see that.
Yeah, this goes into the scene where Lisbon's like, "I'm not going to follow you, but please call
Yeah.
me."
Uh-huh. Okay, so I've looked it up. Secret Squirrel was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon in 1965. So it's really old. That's a old
Wow.
reference. Yeah.
Huh.
Oh.
Wild. Okay. The next missing scene was Cho and Rigsby following up on the private investigator lead. They find out pretty quickly that he's dead, but they're talking to each other as they go up to his office front. And Cho's asking Rigsby what he'll do if this case turns bad for them and what if they lose their jobs. And Rigsby's in denial. He's like, "It won't happen." And Cho says, "You got nothing, huh?" And Rigsby says, "Actually, I was thinking maybe I'd get into the sport fishing business. That would be cool, like shark hunting." And Cho and Cho
Okay.
says and Cho says, "Yeah, I got nothing either."
Wait, do people hunt sharks? I thought sharks are in... What? Oh my god. No, seriously, do people hunt sharks? Is that a thing?
I
Was it a
don't
thing?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe certain species, but I would think that's are they protected now?
I
I
I
don't
thought
know.
I maybe only certain sharks. I didn't think that you could be a shark hunter. Okay, Rigsby.
Yeah. Another scene, just a little add-on when, Lisbon and Jane are talking in the bullpen. A junior DOJ lawyer notices that they're in the bullpen and calls them out about the suspension and says, "Does security know you're here?" And Lisbon says, "Keep walking, Junior."
Interesting.
I'm like, "But Manelli didn't file the paperwork,
Yeah,
right?"
yeah, yeah. So
So,
I think that somebody probably was like, no, this scene doesn't make sense.
yeah, yeah. And then here we go at the end when they go into the motel in Tijuana and Rigsby starts yelling in Spanish. In the script, they were originally going to subtitle that, what he's saying.
Hmm.
He's saying, "Red John was here a moment ago. He's still close by. We can catch him if we set up a perimeter fast."
So did it sound to you like that was Owen yelling that line?
Yeah, to me it
Because he
did.
runs, Rigsby runs outside, so we don't see him speaking
Right.
it, but we hear
Right.
him. We hear him say
Right.
these things. And
Yeah.
also, like, I don't know, like, do you think they knew who Red John was? Because they're in another country. Is Red John that infamous that
That's true.
people in Mexico know who
That's
he is, or
true.
did they bring him up to them up to speed, kind of thing, or
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know. But I was thinking also this kind of makes the writing even more suspect because if he was just there,
yeah,
then when was Jared writing this?
yeah. And I don't know about a moment ago. I think
Yeah.
that's probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
But I think that is what he says though, because you hear him say un momento.
Mhm.
That's like one of the things that I heard him say. But yeah, I don't know.
And then I just have some of the script direction. So no one's speaking here, it's just describing the action. While Mexican forensic guys do their work, Jane and Lisbon sit on the edge of the bed, weary and disconsolate and dirty, like lovers after an illicit tryst.
Oh.
And after they talk for a bit, Lisbon wants to give him a hug. He looks so sad, but she can't do that.
I mean, it's kind of a gross bed, and Jared and
Yeah.
it's just
Yes.
the sheets are all disheveled, so they've used that bed. Yeah, no. Not a big fan of that one.
No.
My only contribution is at the end of the episode, we hear Simon saying, "Stay tuned for scenes from our next episode," and he's talking in his real accent.
Yeah.
So, a rewatch checklist. Jizbin moments.
I wanted to highlight the when Jane quits and he's saying goodbye to Lisbon and he
Mhm.
puts his hand on her shoulder and it's just a sweet moment. I did note that in the script, he gives her a kiss on the cheek and we were robbed.
We were robbed. I would have loved a cheek kiss there.
Hmm.
Nothing to add to our punch list. Okay, suit watch. So once again, four suits. Lately, it seems like it's four suits is the minimum, or that's like the goal or something. So he's wearing a matching charcoal gray pinstripe suit in the beginning when he goes to talk to Jared. Then later, he's wearing a light gray suit jacket with a dark gray vest and a light blue shirt. Then later on, when they go to talk to Mariska, he's wearing a matching light gray suit with a light blue shirt. And then at the end, when they go to get Renfrew, he's wearing a matching dark gray suit with a blue and white striped shirt. Yep, that's about it. Actually, I'm wondering if I missed one. One of these days there will be five, and but it's at least four. Revenge watch. I mean, this is just another. This is like you said, it's the first actual Red John case. So we should actually keep a list of his victims because we need to add Jared and what was her name? I wrote down her name. It was Juana. I gotta write down her name. Juana Porfiria Braga.
Wow.
Okay, favorite lines. My favorite line was Minelli saying, "You gave him your real name." He says, "It's my name." I love that.
I put down Lisbon saying, that was more of a rhetorical stand we were taking back there. And I picked a Cho Zinger of the week, although Cho doesn't say a lot in this episode.
Yeah.
I pulled out when Van Pelt asks, she has an obsession with the word eureka in this episode. She says it more than once. And there's a scene where she asks why people say eureka, and Cho says it's Greek for bingo.
And I did look it up. It's not literally Greek for bingo.
No.
It's just a similar interjection that has the same meaning as bingo. It
Yes.
basically means I found it in Greek.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Karen's going to take our next Memory Palace quiz. Okay, we're back with our new Memory Palace quiz this week. You can check out our social media for a bonus question. The way this works is I'm going to ask 5 questions of increasing difficulty about the episode we just discussed, and you'll have 5 seconds to come up with an answer. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
So if you don't get this first question, I will be super disappointed in you, Karen.
Uh-oh.
Question
Pressure's
1.
on.
What is Eureka Greek for? If you get it wrong, sorry, no more quizzes.
Well, it's sort of like bingo.
So just to give people some background, I say we're going to take a break, but we don't actually take a break. So we literally just discussed this like 2 minutes ago. Okay, question 2. What does Mrs. Renfrew say her husband actually died of?
Aortic aneurysm.
Whoa. You got the first word too. I just put aneurysm, but you got the whole thing. Wow. That's impressive. Question 3. What is Gardner Renfrew's wife's name?
Breck.
Oh, you got that too. It's a very unusual name, yeah.
It is. It is.
I was wondering if it's short for something like Brecken or something like that. Okay. Question 4. What does Mariska Kopecki change her name to?
Vanna something.
Okay, you get a half point. It's Vanna Clooney.
That's right, Clooney. That is, yep.
Okay. This question 5 is kind of random. What color is Mrs. Renfrew's tea set? Because when Jane goes to talk to her and she confesses, she's got like this whole tea set in front of
She
her.
does.
And so he starts pouring himself tea and he helps himself and he starts drinking tea while she's confessing her whole crime.
I want to say it's like white with floral accents.
Oh, you got it. Yes, it's white with pink flowers on it. Very good. Okay, bonus question. So you got the aneurysm thing. What does Mrs. Renfrew initially say that her husband died of?
Oh no. Broken heart.
No. She says that's what other people say.
Others.
She says he actually died of embarrassment.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Embarrassment.
You did really good though. Okay, any last thoughts?
Oh goodness. You know, this episode has so many holes in it.
Yeah.
And
And yet
if
it's
we
still
were
good.
it's still good. If we were to rate my favorite Red John episodes, this one's usually near the bottom.
Uh,
But but the team interactions in this
mhm.
are so important. Just the way the team stands up for Jane
Yep.
and they're
Yep.
willing to lose their jobs to help him. Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot to love.
Yeah, because that scene in Lisbon's office, they're ready to go. They don't care about
Yeah.
the consequences, and I love
Oh
that.
yeah.
So
And just the way that Van Pelt and Rigsby and Cho all show up at Lisbon's office. Like it's
yeah,
not an
yeah.
afterthought. They are actively there to show their support.
And they've actually already got stuff to like give her, right? So
Yeah.
they've already done
Yeah.
research. They've busted out their investigative skills. They've been really good agents, and they follow through. Like they come through when it comes to like figuring things out. They get it done. Well, I guess they're helped with Dr. Joe. So okay, if you're enjoying Rom-Com Detectives, please consider taking a minute to leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you're on Spotify, Reddit, or YouTube, you can leave us a comment answering our question of the week by telling us what you think he is Mar meant. If you'd like to join additional conversations about The Mentalist, you can visit the Mentalist subreddit at reddit.com/r/the Mentalist, and you can join the Mentalist Bullpen Discord server linked in the sidebar. To contact me and Karin, email us at host@romcomdetectives.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Blue Sky, or Threads at romcomdetectives. For our next episode, we're going to be breaking down Red Rum, so if you'd like to ask us a question or tell us your own thoughts about that one, you can leave us a voicemail or text message at 1-650-733-XOXO or 9696. This episode of Rom-Com Detectives was recorded on July 3rd, 2025. Rom-Com Detectives Mentalist Unit is co-hosted by Crystal Watanabe and Karin Lubbers and is produced by Pico Salas. Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
Bye.